Gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who: The Light at the End, the Big Finish release for the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. So this is their 50th anniversary special of the show. So how is it? Well, it's no Day of the Doctor. The plot of The Light at the End, and from the back it is, written and directed by Nicholas Briggs. November 23rd, 1963 proves to be a significant day in the lives of all eight Doctors. It's the day Bob Dovey's life is ripped apart. It's also the day that sets in motion a catastrophic chain of events that forces the first 8 incarnations of the Doctor to fight for their very existence, and a mysterious, insidious chaos. As a mysterious, insidious chaos unfolds. I'm sorry, I'm really bad at this. Within the TARDIS, the barriers of time break apart, from suburban England through to worn-torn alien landscapes into a deadly artificial dimension. All these Doctors and their companions must struggle against the power of an unfathomable alien technology. From the very beginning, it is clear that the Master is somehow involved. By the end, for all the Doctors, there may only be darkness. And it stars Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy, Paul McGann, and Paul McGann as the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th Doctors, and also stars. Get my booklets up, even though I know them. Also stars William Russell as the 1st Doctor, and also as Ian in a cameo. Fraizer Hines as the 2nd Doctor, who also plays Jamie in a cameo, and Tim Trelor, who would go on to be the 3rd Doctor in the 3rd Doctor audio books and audio adventures, and in The Legacy of Time, plays the 3rd Doctor. And these 3 Doctors, whilst they don't get as much time as the other 5 Doctors, they still have some important moments in the story. And we are joined by companions Leela, played by Louise Jameson, Nyssa, Sarah Sutton, Ace, Perry, Nicola Bryant, Ace, Sophie Aldred, and Charlie, India Fisher, alongside cameos from Susan, Caroline Ford, Ian, William Russell, Stephen, Peter Purves, Vicky, Maureen O'Brien, Sarah, Jean Marshall, which is basically just Sarah Kingdom saying that she is Sarah Kingdom and demanding who, I think it's Charlie she's addressing who she is, but it pretty much sounds more like a sound clip from Dalek's master plan rather than a new piece of footage dialogue, if it wasn't for the fact that I know it's a new piece of dialogue added in and Jean Marsh sounds older. But if it wasn't for that, then I'd probably think it was a sound clip from Dalek's master plan. I think they're trying to get cameos from most, if not all, of the surviving companions. I mean, okay, they don't have Mel, who appeared in TV stories. Also, no, they do have Turlo. No Adric. And this is 2013, so they wouldn't have Sarah Jane, obviously. No Romana too. But so certainly most of on-screen companions who have appeared in the show, who are still alive, getting audio cameos. But some of them just feel a bit jarring, and just there, really. Some of them fun, but not all of them. Honestly, I think the best one is possibly... No, I think they're just there. They're just there. Where was I? So, Polly, Annika Wells. Actually, that was quite interesting, because it was a post-Power of the Daleks scene. Jamie, played by Fraizer Hines. Zoe, played by Wendy Pabery. Jo, played by Katie Manning. Tegan, played by Janet Fielding, and Turlo, played by Mark Strickson. Other characters in this, well, we've got Geoffrey Beevers as the Master, and John Dorney, who's usually a writer, as Bob Dovey. Now, considering the back kind of implies Bob Dovey's going to be quite important to this story, and he is, he's not as important as you might initially think to start with. And a guy called Strax, who's a Time Lord, part of the Celestial Intervention Agency, or the CIA. Played by Oliver Hume, and also the Vets, which are an alien race, played by Nicholas Briggs, as he usually does, and Bob Dovey's son Kevin, played by Nicholas Briggs' son Benedict Briggs. And it's actually quite a horrific scene towards the end of part 1 of this story. This is a 2-part story where the Fifth Doctor and Nyssa meets Bob Dovey, and they find his family have been tissue compressed by the Master. What a brute! Thankfully, time is restored, and the family are happy. Well, not quite happily, but safely alive and together. And there's a really good bit at the start that sort of ties in later in the story. But I do think kids need to be written better in future audio stories. I'm not going to have a go at the kid because he does his best with what he's got. But God, the writing doesn't help him. Sorry, Nicholas Briggs is usually a pretty good writer, but this time round, I don't know. I think the light at the end just isn't that great of a story. The Master has some sort of time technology thing where he's able to trap. He's got this. He finds it from the Time Lords in return for keeping his silence from the High Council for their involvement with the Vest, getting all these new weapons, and he acquires this weapon that is able to erase the Doctor from time after trapping him in a alternative dimension that you can only access by entering the 23rd of November at about 3 minutes past 5 in the afternoon, 1963. Not sure why it's 3 minutes past 5 and not 15 or 16 minutes, which would have, along with the date, would have tied into when the first episode of the show aired. They've got the date, but they don't have the time is not 15 or 16 minutes past 5. It's 3, with the Fifth Doctor going to 2 minutes past 5 to try and beat this thing. Of course, he's the one who gets Bob Dovey into the TARDIS, which ultimately causes the whole thing to cause. And it's actually not that interesting. Honestly, it's actually not that interesting. Most of the best stuff seems to be coming from the Doctors talking with each other and the companions talking with each other. And that's honest. And to quote John Granston from the Aimless Wanderings podcast, the Five Few Fans podcast from 2014, where they talked about the Aimless Wanderings audios just before Doctor Who Series 8 came on telly. To quote him, what the fans want from multi-Doctor stories, and what they had done in the Aimless Wanderings audios at that point with those types of stories, is to just have the Doctors get together and talk with each other, maybe have an adventure with each other. But to quote John Granston, the fans want the Doctors to get together and talk. So yeah, just the Doctors talking and playing off each other, and also the companions as well. That's really fun. That's the best stuff. But there's a whole convoluted, complicated story, and it sounds interesting. It sounds good, but once we get to the meat of it, it's not that great. And sadly, it just feels like it just feels a bit dull in places, especially in the first half, where not much is really happening. Not really much is going on. We do get quite a bit more stuff going on in part 2, and it's great to see the Sixth Doctor confronting Straxus about the whole situation. And also the Fifth Doctor going in to try and fix everything, but it's just not that interesting. And Bob Dovey has less to do than it's kind of implied. I mean, when the Fifth Doctor goes and sees him, to start with, originally, him and Nyssa, you start thinking, actually, he's going to have a bit more to do than he's getting his stuff to do now. We think he's going to have quite a lot to do, and now we're finally getting to see him do it. But no, actually, it's just him having to say it's impossible inside the TARDIS, and that's the whole thing. Caused there, and his family is masterized in a way. But other than that, it's just Dovey's pretty much a pointless character, and all the scenes with him are pointless. Although John Dorney does a great job in the role, he does a really good job, and I hope he does some more acting roles. But Bob Dovey's not really that, and Bob Dovey's an okay everyday guy character. But he has little to nothing to do in the story apart from say it's impossible, and causing the entire operation of the story to go into play. Jeffrey Beavers is amazing as the Master, but his plan doesn't make any sense. You could try and work it out, but you just forget about what he wants to do afterwards. Later on, I've completely forgotten what he wanted to do, how he was trying to do it, what was going on. And I don't know, it just felt that there was more. The first episode felt more concerned with setting up the location than the characters. And the location, yeah, sure, you've got to do that. You've got to tell them where they are, and you've got to have the sound bites to it. But it felt more concerned about that than setting up the characters, which isn't very good. And when it does have the characters, they're all over the place. What's going on? At least the Doctors, all 5 of them, plus the other 3, all 8 Doctors are done brilliantly, and they do some great stuff. Although what 1, 2, and 3 are technically trying to do isn't made particularly clear. And the fact that it's the TARDIS is warning them to stay away from the time zone, the time date, otherwise they get trapped in the alternative dimension. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea, and it would have been nice to explore that a bit more. It's a bit like in the Edge of Destruction in a way, where the TARDIS is trying to warn them about something, but they have no idea what it is. But you know, that's a pretty good idea. And the whole thing with Straxus is also pretty good, and I like the acting with him and Colin Baker play off each other really well. But it feels like a bit of a it's not. I mean, it's not a mess of a story, but it just doesn't feel very solid. It doesn't feel very clear. I think they could have handled it a little bit better. There's not even anything that kind of implies a light at the end in a way. I mean, yeah, maybe Doctor's timeline, maybe there's light at the end if they can solve the day. Otherwise, it's just darkness. But other than that, it just doesn't have the same feel. So yeah, the story's just not that interesting. The characters are great, but some of them aren't really that needed. Dovey and Straxus only comes in part 2, and some of the cameos aren't that necessary either. Not even for when Charlie's thrown back in time. It's just, I suppose, it's just there for the flashing. The cameos are there so that Charlie can see some ghosts whilst on her way to see the 4th Doctor. But I think they could have just jumped to the 4th Doctor, possibly straight away. And the cameos also aren't as well done as, say, like in The Light at the End, when we got some pretty good cameos in the Legacy of Time stories, where we got some good cameos there. Such as the Brigadier in the 1st, 2nd, and 10th Doctors. They have some really great, and Benny in the 6th episode. They have some really good cameos in those stories. But and also Alison Williams, the what's his name, Temperon, and a couple of others. But here it just feels a bit belated. I don't know. It just doesn't feel very right. It doesn't feel right, and. Yeah, and that pretty much feels it's the story as a whole. It's not bad, but there's something a bit off with it. It can't quite get to the good spot. So on the whole, I'm good. I like the sound editing, and the music was pretty good, and the nice new theme tune, although they end on the original theme tune from 1963, which actually makes a lot of sense, come to think of it. But yeah, on the whole, Light at the End is okay. I wouldn't say it's an amazing story. It's not. It's no Day of the Doctor. It's no Adventure in Space and Time. It's no Five-ish Doctors reboot. On what the book's 50th anniversary story was going to be, I don't know, but it's okay. It's not one of Big Finish's stronger works. I wonder what their 1963 trilogy was like. The last one of which was with the Countermeasures team and the 7th Doctor and Ace. Was released in November 63. Sorry, it's November 2013. So I wonder what that trilogy was like. But their official 50th anniversary release isn't quite that special. The best thing about it is these 5 Doctors and 3 others get to interact with each other, and a couple of companions together. And you hear a few others in cameos. And Geoffrey Beevers as the Master, of course. And also Oliver... where is he? Oliver Hume as Straxus. He's really good. But on the whole, The Light at the End is okay. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Yeah, it's just okay. I don't think it's a particularly special 50th anniversary release. It's no Light at the End. Legacy of Time. Keep doing that. It's not as good as the Legacy of Time for Big Finish's Doctor Who at Big Finish 20th anniversary release. Also, I don't like how disc 1 is of this booklet. This is the limited edition booklet, by the way, but I don't like how disc 1 is kind of signed in, put into the back cover of the back book. I think it should have gotten its own flap later on. And this book feels a bit too thin to fit in this side box. I think a few more pages would have helped, and certainly one extra harder page in the middle where the whole disc would have been helpful. It has a lot of cool information about the characters inside and how they are relevant to the story, before then getting to some cool photographs and production credits, cast and production credits. And also we got 3 extra discs on the limited edition to the standard release. The standard release is just 2 discs. The normal release, I don't know what was in the booklet. May have just been the cast and credits. But yeah, disc 3 is a documentary about the making of The Light at the End. That's a good documentary. Disc 4 is a documentary about Doctor Who at Big Finish. Although it starts off mostly about Light at the End, and then halfway through it diverts to other stories. Strangely, starting about once they move away from Light at the End stuff or 50th anniversary stuff, they then start talking about a character called Elizabeth Klein, who appears in a couple Big Finish audios, and it's strange that's what they want to talk about first after Light at the End. Once they get around 25 minutes into the behind This Is Big Finish documentary, they decide first thing we want to talk about after Light at the End is Elizabeth Klein. Okay. Yeah, they just randomly cut to topics of characters or events in or stories they want to talk about. They will talk about some characters or stories just out of the blue with very little transition. And then Disc 5 is a companion chronicle called The Revenants, which is going to get its own mini review in a few minutes. But that's a nice inclusion. Previously exclusive released with Doctor Who magazine. It's a nice inclusion to the box set. And again, another fun audio with Ian Chesterton, played by William Russell, who narrates the adventure, with some characters played by Sharon Small, who's really good in the roles of Janet and Janine. So that's really good. And fun fact, Lisa Bauman directs some of these companion chronicles and short trips, and she directs this one. So that's cool. I'll do the Revenants in its own mini review after this one. But anyway, so yeah, Light at the End, it's alright. And the booklet that accompanies it is nice, but could have had a bit more stuff to it, like another harder page thing for disc 1 to go in instead of putting it to the spine. And I don't know what this is supposed to be. What is this green stuff anyway? Is it the wall coming apart? But yeah, that's the Light at the End. Thank you for watching this review, and I shall see you guys next time for another audio review, or another film review, or another TV review, or another book review. Bye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Although Nicholas Briggs can't write children, the kids does his best with a few things he's got to say. But wow, God, I think we've got to have some better kids written, not just acting, but well, no offense. But also, I think, got a bit.